Okay, you want to know how I come to know Roger, or whatever?
Well, yeah, you can just tell me what, start there, how you come to know him, yeah.
Well, Roger, when I first knew Roger, the first thing I knew, he came through, and he was had a toy he wanted to promote. He was heading for Los Angeles to try and promote this toy. I didn't even remember what it was.
A toy?
And but then several times he stopped, and then last time he stopped, he told me that he'd had Hodgkin's disease, and I told Francis, I said, I don't think we'll ever see Roger again, because her grandmother died and her uncle both died of Hodgkin's disease. Terrible death. But anyway, but he did come back. He did a lot of chemo and everything, and just about killed him. But he didn't make it back. He come back, and he said, Al, he says, if there's anything tracks show up or anything, would you let me know? I said, sure. I know. So then John Green called me, and he said, Al, he said, would you meet my charter plane in Orleans? He said, I'm bringing a tracking dog down, and there's been tracks found up at Blue Creek Mountain. And he says, but I don't land in Orleans, but I don't have any way to get up there. Would you come take us up there? I said, gosh. I said, well, check with Frances, see if she closed the store all right, and if she can, I'll do it. So she said she could, and so our oldest son and I went there, took a station wagon, and we went down there and met them in Orleans. And then we started down, and then we got to Wolf Creek Resort, which was still open at that time. In those days, anyway, they got some provisions and everything to take up there. And John says I loaned him $100. I don't remember, but he said he didn't have time to get his.
John said you loaned him $100?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember, but he said I did. And if he did, must have paid me back. I wasn't mad over it. Anyway.
That's why you forgot he must have paid you back.
So anyway, went up there, and of course it was way up on top of the ridge there at Blue Creek Mountain. There was a long stretch of road there, and the tracks went right down as far as you can see down there. And there was, but they said there was 3 sets of tracks. I only saw 2. And anyway, we had we couldn't stay too long. They got there, it was getting dark, and they were getting ready to bed down and everything for the night. In the morning they would go and track it. So anyway, we came back, and we'll back up a little bit. The interesting thing was that we came out of our son was a teenager. I can't remember how old he was. Wasn't too old. Anyway, he came out, and we all coming out of there, and the dog hunter just had a fit. He about went nuts. Here was Mike, had his arm around the dog's neck, and the dog was in the back of the station wagon, and Mike was on the back seat, and he had his arm around his neck. But they were just loading each other up to beat the neck. And he really had a fit, the dog hunter. He said, that dog's a killer.
Yeah, your son was wrestling with him. Yeah.
And, but anyway.
It should be noted that when transporting a dangerous dog by airplane, small airplane, that it was very common to sedate them. So likely at the time that Mike had his arm around the dog, he'd had a pill. It hadn't worn off. But let's continue.
The dog would, I guess the dog knows a child.
Yeah.
And so, at any rate, we went on up, and we saw the tracks, and like I say, I saw 2 sets. I did not see the third one. And
were they different sizes?
Yes. Yeah.
One was a good bit smaller?
One was quite small, and they said the other was like a child, small.
So you missed the larger one, you didn't see?
No, I seen the large one, and the next size. I did not see the little bitty one.
You didn't see the little one, okay.
No. And so anyway, we had to come back, and we went down here, and up the next day, they put the dog on the track, and it tracked it for a while, and then it lost the track. They lost the tracks. They said it warmed up and they lost the track. I really will believe that that wasn't what happened. That dog handler was scared to death. He pulled him off the track.
Oh, really?
Well,
Yeah.
He told me the night before, he said that the dog, the beast is going to catch up, the dog going to catch up with that beast, and you're going to take care of him right now. And I'm next. That's what he said. And so I always will believe he pulled him off the track. The next day, about 10 o'clock, they lost the track anyway. So, whether, I don't know. I'll never know for sure.
He was a little spooked, though.
Yeah, in my opinion. Well, anyway, when they left, why, I didn't want to call Roger right then. When they first got up there, I thought, that's not quite right. Call him on top of them. So I didn't wait. I waited till they left, then I called Roger and told him.
Notice that he didn't want to call Roger in on top of them. So he waited until they left, and then he calls Roger to come down, which he does. So that puts Roger at Bluff Creek sometime in the summer. What he did not know was that these men returned suddenly the next day, and Al was unaware of that. So there you had both parties down there at the same time, which is why these men are so confused when they see a horse herd there in the area where they had just been the day before. And so let's look at some of these shadows. Notice that the shadow of the creature on the right is a short shadow about the same length as the shadow of me there on the left there on June the 10th, a few years back. I think you can understand what you're getting at, that these men were actually there doing their business much earlier than the story suggests. Let's continue.
And I said, well, they're probably out of the area now. But anyway, but he says, well, he says, I think I'm going to come down anyway. I've been wanting to come down. I'm going to come down anyway.
Now, you said Blue Creek Mountain.
Right.
I've often heard Onion Mountain associated with that event.
Well, it's really, there's a confusion there. And it might have been me as well. Because John said it was actually Blue Mountain is where it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blue Ridge Mountain?
Blue Creek Mountain.
No, so is that pretty close to Bluff Creek?
Oh, yeah, it's just up above one, very close to Onion Mountain.
Just kind of overlooking
Yeah,
Bluff
yeah,
Creek.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That same general area. I know exactly where. It's that same general area.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Al for his candid interview and his recollections. And Al was pretty sharp. It answers a lot of questions. It answers a lot about the timeline of them getting that film out of there, and it answers questions about the processing of the film, because that film had very specialized processing, and only a couple of places in the United States did it, and it had a minimum of 2 weeks to turn it around. So you couldn't take it on a Friday and show it on a Sunday like they did. But if they took it in the summer, then there was plenty of time for anything you wanted to do, including editing, adding on the leaders, and all of that. So Al kind of cleared that up. I held on to this since 2008. This kind of information is like fodder for skeptics who don't believe the film is real. But the film itself actually does not need a story. It doesn't need Roger Patterson or Bob Gimlin's support. It can't be torn down by Bob Hieronymus. It is what it is. But it does need explaining. And the explanations are there if you have an ear for listening. I thank you for your time.